The wolf is here. The Lone Wolf Beard Company is Colorado's premium beard company, offering 100% all-natural products to bearded beasts of all different shapes and sizes. Pick up your original scented product now and stand out from the pack. Because hey, let's be honest, you weren't meant to be in a pack, and you were brought in this world to stand out and leave a mark. So unleash the wolf within, howl at the moon, and conquer your goals. Leave a mark, be a wolf, and seize the day. That's the Lone Wolf Beard Company, Colorado's premium beard company, offering 100% all natural products. Welcome to the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. I'm here in Denver, Colorado with my man, Jordan Titoni. We're here at Performance MMA in association with Factory X Muay Thai. Jordan is off of a huge winning streak right now and has some big news that we might be able to share with you. I don't know about the fine tooth. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can let that out of the bag a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got news last night that I'd be potentially fighting for LFA June 22nd in Beaumont, Texas. And rumors are that I'll have a TV spot on Access TV, which is cool, get a little exposure. I got confirmation for the fight last night as well, so that's why I'll let it out. But I haven't signed a contract, but looks like we're headed in the right direction. That's going to happen.
Beautiful news right there. So make sure that everybody out there watching that's been following Jordan along, that you keep that date on your calendars. LFA has been putting on some great cards lately. Just this last month, they had one out here in Vail, Colorado. That was a fantastic card to be out there and be in the mix and experience. So, Jordan fought the next night on May 5th, had another first round finish. You might as well just change your name to first round finish at this point, because that's all you're doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what I can get. If those guys can't put up enough of a fight to get to the second round, I'll take a short night, no problem.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing too. Is you're such a humble guy in that sense. In that the last couple of times that we've spoken after the fights, it's like, hey man, I'm not even getting tested. I'm getting out of here in the first round. I want to go to practice tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do. Just you hit the nail on the head there. I love being tested. I love testing myself. That's why this sport just drew me in, because it's about learning about yourself. Testing yourself, seeing what you're made of, seeing what you're capable of, and the human body is capable of so much. The human spirit is limitless. And then you put your mind behind that in the right place, and the sky's the limit in my mind.
That's really a great way to put it, because I've kind of found myself on a personal journey, getting back to a healthier lifestyle and that side of things. There really are, to a certain extent, limitless things with the body. The body will be as weak as the mind will allow it to be. If you have the fortitude to push through some of these barriers, you can really start to accomplish those things once you believe what you're trying to achieve.
I agree, 100%. Yeah, I mean, having that strong-rooted belief is gonna, just back you up. When times get hard and you don't know, what you're gonna lean on, you can lean on your faith and your belief, whatever it's in, whether it's yourself or a higher power or something like that. That strong belief can carry you, definitely.
100%. And so, I'm sure with you at this point that's got to be huge. Having that, just everything starting to come together. You mentioned it before we started with the camera. You're having that light at the end of the tunnel type of feeling right now. Can you talk about that more?
I can. It's kind of crazy, because I've been an athlete my whole life, but always just been focused on being a professional athlete, getting paid money to do something I love, and then I was here at Factory X. I've been here about 6 years, and 6 years of MMA training it's tough. I mean, it's a long road, and a lot of times you don't see your own progress, or it's hard to see the goals that you're going to reach one day. you always keep in the back of your mind, one day I'll be pro, one day I'll be good at this, one day I'll be in the UFC, and then one day that day is right in front of you, you know, and it's just it's surreal to be like, oh shit, I did all that and I'm here now, and if I just keep it up, I'm gonna get right where I want to be. It's so close, I can taste it. You know, it's a great feeling.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's great to watch you and to see. I mean, you're finally fucking smiling, so that's a plus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean things are on the up and up for sure. I'm just I feel so lucky, so blessed, and just really happy with my life. You know, really happy with the man that I am. You know, I'm proud of that, and that right there is a good feeling.
That's a good thing, man. That's a great place to be. I feel like they mentioned it on the UFC telecast this last week with and unfortunately it didn't work out for her, but Raquel Pennington was kind of talking about just how being on that sort of level mentally helps so much throughout the grind that you guys as athletes and as mixed martial artists have to go through, that when you have that clarity within your mental space and just feeling good about where you're at in your life, how much better everything else goes for you within this line of work.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, I would say the mental aspect of fighting has been the toughest thing for me to nail down. Um, like I grew up wrestling, and I was always a very hard worker in practice. Like that was never hard for me. So like mentally, I always just thought, like, go balls to the wall, do it, give it your best effort, and just go crazy. You know, and that worked in wrestling pretty well. But then MMA, there's just so many more facets to the game to consider. So many variables that you still need that almost reckless abandon, but like and like confidence in yourself. But you have to just be so like respectful of other people's skills, and then like I don't know, when I go crazy, like I see red and I get tunnel vision, I just start trying to murder people, and like your drunk uncle can do that at the bar. So I mean, like that's not what a professional fighter is to me. Like I'm trying to like elevate my mental state there and like make it less about combat. Like a lot of it lately has just been philosophy for me. Like I had a pretty deep conversation with my girlfriend's family on Easter about competition, and I was just saying how competition has changed from like originally competition in like nature was to survival of the fittest. You know, the strong will pass on their seed and the weak get left out in the field or whatever. But it's changed now from that level to more of like a personal level. I think for me that like competition isn't about winning and losing or proving you're the best. It's about learning who you are and just seeing how far you go and like how much control you can have in that in the fire. You know what I'm saying? In the war zone while the bombs are dropping, how cool you can be. Um, and I don't really have it all figured out yet, but I think I'm getting there. And I'm really liking that I'm growing mentally, spiritually, as well as physically. It's easy to grow physically in this sport. If you just come to practice, that'll happen. But it's easy to overlook that mental aspect until you like really need to like, oh shit, that's the only piece that's missing. I need to get that lined up, kind of.
Yeah, I could totally dig that. It's kind of like the whole Bruce Lee "be the water"
A little
type
bit,
of
yeah,
type of mantra on that side of things.
yeah.
Kind of speaking of philosophy and that sorts of things, it's a little bit off topic from that, but still related. Have you seen the new Cobra Kai series at all? The reboot of
I haven't. I've
Karate
been
Kid.
interested to see that. It looks pretty cool. I haven't seen that though.
I'll be honest, I binged it over the weekend. It
Yeah,
was it was worth the watch.
nice.
I probably got a little bit more into it than I should have, but that's being a nostalgic '90s kid on that
Yeah,
side of things. But
absolutely.
just a lot of that kind of the mental side of it. Like I don't know, it was some good stuff, but I'm sure a lot out there that follow this type of content that we're putting out here for you with the comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast would like and have some interest in.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like I say, just a lot of those kind of, little, the whole everybody still remembers wax on, wax off type of shit from the Karate Kid type of series, the mental side from Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it funny, like, as I've grown, like, those little sayings that people always say, how true they are. Like, as a kid, you, like, brush them off, like, you can achieve anything you want to. You're like, oh, I've heard that 100 times, and everyone says that to everybody, but you really fucking can, You just gotta go get it. Like, it's like all those things people say. I can't think of a good example, but like they're all true. Like that's why they're said over and over. It's just you hear it so much, it's easy to just like shove aside or whatever. But um, like those corny sayings, man, like they're they actually hold some weight. Once you really like are just like real with yourself.
Yep, yep. It's funny that you say that because more and more that I get older, I think the same thing. Some of those little ones that you always, just like you say, was never anything, but now it's kind of the whole "dad was right" concept.
Right? Yeah, fucking dad.
Yeah, exactly. Just seeing and talking, you got one of the meanest beards in the entire MMA game here. I gotta ask you, man. Like, we're in partnership with the Lone Wolf Beard Company. Shout out to Big Pino out there. I know you'll be listening to this once it comes out. But we got to talk about getting you some Lone Wolf beard oil for that beast that you got right there.
Yeah, I noticed that you were affiliated with James over there. I actually grew up with Nick and James. I went to school with them basically my whole life, but. Yeah, I saw you were affiliated with them, and I was like, man, I need to get that hookup going on because I got the meanest beard you ever seen. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I've been actually trying to hunt a good sponsorship. Maybe I can make that connect happen. We'll see. Holler at your boy, James.
I'll try to put the contact in place. Try to put the connection in motion.
Cool.
And just touch on the sponsorship board over here as well. You're also sponsored by Terp House, still correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got Terps. Make sure that you guys check out Terp House for some of the best in the vaporizer and CBD oil product game. Absolutely. Everything to keep your recovery and all that on point. So
definitely
a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, stand-up company is Terp House. They've been with me. They were my first sponsor, and they've been with me for 5 fights now. So yeah, I love having them in my corner. Thanks, Terps. Respect.
Absolutely. Shout out to Brandon Labber. I also want to throw a shout out to the Predator who put into connection some of all these stuff, as well as can't forget to say thank you to Mr. Jim Walter as well in the mix too for putting in motion a lot of these connections that I've been fortunate to make out there. So thank you all very much for the support of the Comments from the Peanut Gallery project. So with that being said, Jordan, what's it looking like for you? This will be basically that's what 3 fights in 4 months.
Yep. Yeah, precisely. And to me, that's the best part about it is just fighting more frequently. Like I said, like this isn't about winning and losing; it's just about fighting. For me, like. It's really easy when you're in the fight to think about what comes next or what happened before. Are you prepared or are you going to win or, do you get to kiss your girlfriend after or whatever. But like being in that moment, living that moment well while you're fighting, to me is the most important part of all of that. So, so it really boils down to just the fight, like not what happens after or before. It's just how well can you live that moment to me. And then you only get so many of those. It's very finite how many fights you can get, or even if the fight will last a minute. So your opportunity to live well is very slim there, and so I love getting more opportunities to fight. And this is probably the busiest year I've ever had already, and I'm just looking to pile on 2 or 3 more fights before the year ends. But yeah, I'm just enjoying life and loving fighting, man.
It's great, man. I'm happy to see this for you, especially just looking like you belong in the moment. You look like you're very happy with life right now.
I am.
So that that's a great thing. And for those of you out there who don't know, I've known Jordan for a long time. He was he's a couple years older than I am, but is someone who definitely looked up to in sports and everything for a lot of years. I can remember going all the way back to Heaton Middle School back in the days of like kind of being that weird, doing all the different stuff. Middle school can be clicky. Did band, but also rode skateboards and played sports and all that sort of shit. And there wasn't really a whole lot of guys who played sports that did a lot of that besides you. So I always kind of thought, you were a cool person to look up to on that side of things. Playing football, wrestled. Drumline was the fucking movie back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember you and Stephen Williams way back when just going crazy on the drums with all that. Mr. Mueller having us out there through the streets of Belmont terrorizing all the residents in the morning. So, go back a long time. So it's always a great thing to see, to see you doing well just from that, long time connection that way.
Appreciate that, man. And I like hearing your perspective on some of that old school stuff. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, man. I still remember to this day, learning the burning your shoelaces off trick.
Yeah.
And I learned that from you way back when. We used to stand on for anybody who knows Pueblo and knows the Belmont area, everybody used to ride their skateboards at Heaton off of Comanche and what's that street right there? Kia or something?
Calhoun?
Okay, I don't remember off the top of my head. Comanche and whatever, but it's on the corner right there at Heaton where everybody used to ride their skateboards right out there on the corner. So
Caledonia.
Gotcha. Yeah, long long time since I've been that direction to know and remember, but good times, good memories.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's where I was kind of forced into who I am. That's where it all started, I think. Still got some great friends from then, and that's where I started a lot of my athletic passion started to grow then, and I started to figure out who I was. That's a fun little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, no, definitely there. It was pretty cool the night of the fights down there on Cinco de Mayo. One in general. Can you say that there's very many other better places for a fight night on Cinco de Mayo than Pueblo, Colorado?
No way. I mean, everyone was super excited to be there, having a great time, loving the fights. That was a blast. I had a great time. Definitely.
Oh, yeah, and it definitely helps when you go out and kick some ass right away.
Yeah, when you get that W in the main event, it helps for sure to have a good night.
And I was pumped the entire night. Shout out to my boy Efren Hernandez who came out and watched the fights with me that night. But it was awesome because and then I also want to throw a shout out to Coach Paul Andrada too. He was up in the VIP area and came down and told me, he said, yeah, all these BMF dudes up there are talking all kinds of crazy shit, like they're gonna come in and handle their business. So I told him, yeah, why don't you tell them to shove it up their fucking ass because they're gonna get fucking stomped.
There you go.
Yeah, so I it took me probably about a day and a half to completely recover my voice after that fight.
That's good. That's a good fight then, for sure.
Well, because he came out and he kind of threw that weak little kick that you checked right away, and I told Efren right then and there, if you were here, he could vouch for it. I said, watch, if he throws that weak little shit again, Jordan's going to catch it, he's going to get him to the ground, he'll get seatbelt, then he'll throw the hooks in, he's going to have the choke, and it's going to be cated by the door.
Yeah.
What happened?
Exactly that.
Exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a game that I like to stick to. Not to say I can't do a whole bunch of other stuff, but if you're not going to stop it, I'm going to do what I like to do. So.
I mean, if you can get to that point, within the first minute of the fight on most of these contests that you've been getting to, it's hard to argue with results.
Exactly. For a while I was worried about being labeled as kind of like a one-trick pony, but now I'm like, try and stop it, suckers. Give it your best shot. See what you can do. And if they stop it, I'll armbar them or I'll knock them out or something. It's not an issue. Let's just go to the next thing. So far, I haven't made it past step one though, so I'm good with that.
To kind of add to the different tricks, you've got a very cool story about landing a head kick on the world champion.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. It was a fun night. That was a really memorable night for me. Yeah, me and old TJ were getting some rounds here at Factory X. TJ Dillashaw. This was actually when he was in camp for the Cody Bondurant fight. He was gonna, he was doing some of his camp here and then doing most of it in Cali, but a little bit here while he was in town. And he was here, probably a week, but I ended up working with him one night on a striking night, and he's a short dude, so I was like, I'm gonna throw that head kick up there, see where I can get this sucker to land, and it landed. I saw the look in his eyes change. Like, he's not a dick by any means, not at all. Like, he wasn't a jerk about it, but he picked up the level then. Like, maybe he was sleeping on me a little bit, didn't really know who I was, didn't think I was gonna have hands for the world champ, but yeah, I put that kick on him. He turned up, and then he stepped on an angle real nice and threw his overhand, caught me in the eye, and I got a nice little scar from it. Actually, like, it split me just a little bit, not bad, but I got a little scar, and now I love it because I'm like, yeah, I got scarred up by the world champ. Got that shit forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you told me that story. I was like, dude, that is so fucking cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's cool.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, to be able to say like, hey, you know what? Regardless, I'm gonna rip one.
Yeah, and I mean, he's the world champ. I'm sure he gets it all the time, but people coming at him or whatever. But he's a great dude. I've always looked up to TJ and his style and the way he fights, and it was just an honor and a pleasure to get around with him for sure.
That's got to be awesome to, like I say, we've talked about it with our previous conversations and with everybody that I've worked with here with Factory X, but you guys just keep on having a high level of success as a team. So I can only imagine what it's like to feel like, in the room on those nights to where you're all getting better together. Everybody is performing at such a high level that you're just building and building and building on each other's success.
Yeah.
Coach Montoya has really done a great job of fostering a culture of success that just breeds upon itself.
I agree, and it's just it's part of the culture here. We all work hard, and when you're not in a camp for a fight, you're here for the other guys who are. You don't miss practice no matter what. You just we have a pride in ourselves, in our team, and we want to carry our flag out with pride and honor. And every time we do that, we want to gain the respect of the people there to watch or anyone interested really. So we try to handle ourselves as professionals and just work our tails off. That's the other thing in Factory X. There is just not an easy round. You don't get a break. There's no guy you can find who's just going to be an easy round. You can take the round off. He'll knock your head off if you want to sleep on him. So that's the other reason it's hard to see your growth, because everyone else is growing right along with you, or maybe they're growing faster right now. And the guy you got last week will get you this week, and then you'll get him back. So it's very back and forth. I love training here, man. The level of talent and coaching is second to none, absolutely.
That's a great thing to keep on watching, and it's just, it doesn't matter what event, whether it's Chris Lockhart with the Muay Thai, with the U.S. Muay Thai, to with De La Rosa and Selena this last weekend with the Jiu-Jitsu comp, to you guys in full-on mixed martial arts competition. You guys just keep on stacking up W's. So that's an incredible testament to the work that you guys put in here every day.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that, because we do work so hard, and I get to see it every day. And I'm proud of my guys and girls for what they're achieving. Absolutely, they deserve it because they've earned it.
Now, one thing I got to ask you, because I feel like it's kind of the same when I see from the different gyms and all their different, like practice night pictures, all of that. It seems like there's a lot of people that are here for, for Muay Thai night, or for, for your striking nights and all of that. But it doesn't look like there's many people in the pictures for Wrestling Wednesdays.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's tough, It's hard to see the benefits that you get from wrestling in an MMA fight. They're less tangible. They exist, but jiu-jitsu, I get good at an armbar, great, I can armbar someone. Striking, I get good at punching, all right, I get to knock someone out now. Wrestling, it's more just like position, control. It's all the transition in between striking and jiu-jitsu. So you don't really get to like know exactly like that you've gotten better at it really, or like it's hard to just see that growth. Um, you just see yourself being more successful in a fight, and then the other thing is it's just hard. It's hard work, getting down, getting up off the mat over and over. People don't like doing it. I understand, but I am a firm believer that wrestling is like the key ingredient to MMA. You get to dictate where the fight takes place. You are the master of the ring at that point. You get to say whether they get to strike or not. Um, to me, it's super important. It is a little overlooked, but it's gaining some momentum, I would say, in jiu-jitsu and MMA. And my class has grown actually. I don't know if it has anything to do with rattling off 5 wins in a row or anything. People want to learn from a winner. I'll take it if that is the reason. But yeah, last night I had 24 people in class, which was I think the biggest class I've ever had. So
That is actually a pretty big night.
yeah, it's growing for sure. But yeah, it's definitely the smallest of the classes. It's tough.
Oh, and I could totally understand that because it is absolutely a grind. Josh Thompson was talking about it on the Bellator broadcast the other night about when he was, I think it was when he was talking about the development of Aaron Pico after Pico had the body shot knockout. But he said just basically the level of intensity that they have out there, and AKA because it was the card was out there in San Jose. And so you said, when you have DC leading the class with, fucking Khabib and Aaron Pico and these guys in there. So, yeah, those striking nights, or excuse me, the striking nights compared to the grappling nights, there's a lot less people there on the grappling nights in comparison.
Yeah.
So I figured it was probably the same when I started after he mentioned that in the broadcast, throughout this last week at all the different gyms that I follow on social media, looking at those practice pictures. And I was like, yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, striking's glorious. You get everyone loves the big knockout. It's where all the glamour is at for sure. But I don't think I think it's foolish to neglect the other aspects of the game. Even if you want to be a striker, you should be a great wrestler because then you get to strike whenever you want to because you can defend shots all day long. So it's just such a big help. It's foolish to me to not invest in that part of your game, especially at a place like AKA where they got, the best grapplers in the world in Khabib and Cormier, and you're not in that class. Like that blows my mind. You should be in that class every opportunity you get because those are 2 of the best guys in the world. Period. In MMA grappling. Period.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It would only make sense that those would be some of the times when you would want to really kind of be there. But I guess if it was easy, though, everybody would do it.
Definitely.
If there were more guys that mastered it to that side, you wouldn't have your Khabibs that stand out so much the way that they do, or your DCs with their grappling, just elite level of capability.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd say that's where the biggest gap is between like the high level guys and everybody else is wrestling. A lot of people have started to learn that jiu-jitsu, and most people already know striking. And those guys who are those elite wrestlers, they just have a great advantage. No one has even come close to touching Khabib. Not even close, because he just mauls them. With wrestling, period. I love that dude's style. I love watching him fight. I've been trying to mirror some of my stuff off of him. He's awesome.
The only thing that I don't like about is the way that he stands up.
He could use some wrestling, honestly. His ground control is second to none. His transitional wrestling is okay, I think. I think he could get better at that, which is why I think I could beat him, honestly. I could stop his shots and take him down and get on top of him. That's another story.
I think that Iaquinta kind of opened some eyes, or maybe opened up some doors for those, for someone like you who has a strong wrestling background and knows, okay, you're seeing that he's stopping this shot in this way. What can I do with that then from
Yeah.
from that sort of things? Or then, okay, as we've gone on, he's kind of sitting there with his hands a little bit lower around his ribs and his chin high. Maybe in that quick second, what can I rip through right there?
Exactly. Yeah. He's a really tough guy, and I'd say his biggest problem is he just chases too much. Hands down chasing people. If he would just, I don't know, kind of get people to come at him a little more, sit back a little more, I think he could have a lot more success with this takedown and run into less damage as he's trying to do it. But who the fuck am I to say? That's Khabib. He's the man. That's just my humble opinion. I'm not trying to say I know what I'm talking about, but that's what I think.
I mean, you make good points though to it. So with that being said, who do you what do you think of Kevin Lee? Because Kevin Lee has some pretty phenomenal wrestling too.
Yeah, he does. I haven't seen a ton of his fights, but he seems like a well-rounded guy. But he's like, I don't know if you remember last time I was saying like I wanted to be a fighter who's good at wrestling and not a wrestler who's trying to fight. I feel like he might be more in that second half of that category. Like, I don't know. That's, again, I'm just some guy with a stupid opinion, but that's what I think. He needs to kind of maybe go away from wrestling a little bit and just round out his game. I don't know.
It makes sense. He was a guy who, speaking of sparring is sparring night here tonight in Factory X. Friday night's always an explosive night. But he was talking about his sparring style, about how he's a balls out sparrer most of the time. Like, man, like I don't know if Granted, I'm somebody from the outside looking in completely. I don't do shit. But I feel like, like if you're going balls out multiple times a week, the way that he spoke to in the Rogan podcast, that can't be good for your longevity.
No, I mean, it just can't. That's why like a lot of these guys who spar 2 and 3 times a week, their body breaks down before their fight. They get injured. They have to pull out. A lot of this kind of stuff. Sparring is a ton of fun. I think like that's the appeal. Is it's just you get to apply all your knowledge that you've learned throughout the week. You're not learning. You're just applying. You get to go out and do it. So it's fun for sure, but it's hard on you. You need those days of knowledge and learning to also like rest your body and get back at it. I can't imagine doing more than one sparring session a week. Like just how sore you'd be all week long. Like I'm usually sore till Monday after sparring, because we throw down, we get jiggy, but we're also good at like controlling ourselves and trying not to like really like knock anybody out. I mean, if we do get rocked, coach steps in and says you're done for the night. You need to take care of your brain. He always says you only get one brain. Like you can get a new arm, but you can't get a new brain. So like we're very cautious about all that stuff here, and I think we have it figured out pretty well, honestly.
I mean, you've got something figured out for sure. With the W's that you guys have been throwing up on the board, obviously can't be wrong.
Yeah, I agree. We're doing something right for sure.
You guys have so tomorrow night, right? Cummings fights, right?
Yeah, down in Chile.
Yeah, so that should be a pretty interesting card to watch.
Definitely.
What do you think of Usman?
I don't know who that is.
Kamaru Usman, the guy who's fighting Damian Maia in the main event.
Oh, yeah. I don't know much about that guy. He better be good at defending jiu-jitsu is all I know.
So he's another guy who has a strong wrestling background as his primary background, okay. But he's also got some scary striking.
Nice.
So I think that he could be a problem for Maia on that side of things, because I think that he can grapple right up there in the mix with some of the best. I don't want to say in the best in terms of the jiu-jitsu side, because Maia is in a class of his own with some of the best of the world in that respect. Not even trying to say that, but in an MMA sense of grappling, the dude is scary good and raw. He's still young. He hasn't lost in 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think he's one of the big wild cards of that 170 division.
Yeah.
He's the one. Colby Covington has been dodging him for a while.
No surprise.
No surprise. I can't stand Colby Covington.
Pussy. I'll fuck you up, Colby. Me.
I won't say shit because I can't do shit. But I'll let my boy Jordan take care of that work.
I will because I can.
Even still, fuck you, Colby Covington. He tried to say, oh, well, Joe Rogan shouldn't say anything because I might see him sometime. Because did you see any of that? Like how Rogan said, well, Colby Covington should watch what he says because he might be in the same place as John Jones someday. Yeah. Then Colby had to say, oh, well, I might be in the same place as Joe. You're talking apples and oranges here, man. Like, you're a pro fighter talking with another pro fighter. If your fighter's talking shit, the whole same concept of Cyborg and Angela Magana. If you're going to be a fighter and you're going to be talking shit to another dude that way, and you have someone pull up on you, what are you doing if you're going to puss out that way?
Yeah.
Just like the way that that happened with him and Usman at the last press conference. He was, I guess, talking a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Usman approached him by himself in the backstage, like, hey, you're talking all this shit. We have the same circle of people. We live 20 minutes away. Why not? And then Covington didn't start saying anything until security started coming around. It's like, you're soft, man. You're soft as shit.
Classic bitch move, man. I mean, to me, anyone with a mouth, like, you're just covering for your own bitch-made insecurities, Like, sure, you can talk up a fight and all of that, but when it comes time, like, you better be ready to throw down. If you're going to act like a little bitch when I'm in your face, then guess what? You're a little bitch. Period. So the truth always comes out, and bitches get exposed. Period.
But the thing that pisses me off more than anything with him is it's working. Unfortunately.
I mean, it's getting him hype.
That's what I say. It's working in that sense. I think that he's going to have a very rude awakening when it comes to fighting RDA.
Well, there you go.
But nonetheless, it's gotten him that shot to be in, pretty much a number one contender type of fight. Him basically trying to take that Connor route or having those fucking C-grade porn chicks saying that he had the, threesome or whatever it was, and then the one comes out and says, oh, no, we didn't do that, so apparently he didn't pay him enough for them to go along with the story.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the business that we're in right now. You don't necessarily have to be the most talented fighter to get the best opportunity. You just need to be the most popular or the most well-known, In my opinion, Conor McGregor is not fucking shit, okay? He's a good striker, but in MMA, he's fucking garbage. That's my honest opinion. I'm not even going to say humble. I stand strong in that shit because he's fucking garbage. He's a great hype man, good mouth on him, fucking garbage fighter. That's how I feel about it. I could be Conor McGregor today in this gym right now. Okay? That's a promise. I'm kryptonite for that motherfucker. But people think he's the GOAT, the greatest that ever walked, because he's got a lot of hype and he's fought in a lot of big fights. But not for any good reason, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree with you more there, I mean, I put up a post a couple of weeks ago asking a poll of if they had a one-night tournament-style event with, the 6 top lightweights of Conor, Nate, Khabib, Tony Ferguson, Eddie Alvarez, and Kevin Lee. And Conor got a lot of support in that post of people. And, you guys understand that Conor has zero endurance. And you're going to say that in a multi-fight night situation, he's going to be able to fucking pull it off? What's he going to Aldo everybody? No chance.
Well, people don't know fucking anything. So they just regurgitate what they hear, right? So, they just hear how great Conor is from, news and social media that they're like, oh, he must be the greatest, so I'm going to believe that wholeheartedly. When really they have no fucking idea because they have no base to base their opinion on, you know what I'm saying? So, it's really silly to me. That's, to me, is the worst part of the game, is it's like these guys who aren't the number one contender in the world getting title shots because, a million people know their name. I don't fucking care about popularity. I want to fight the best. I want to see the best guy in the world holding that belt or fighting for it, That's what I want to see. I don't want to see some fucking jamoke who can talk a fancy game, getting the shot for this. That's he didn't earn that. He earned a debate session or something.
Hmm.
That's how I feel.
No, I mean you're right, but the UFC, that they've kind of created their own bet on that side of things with this at this point. It's gotten to a point to where you got to try to put the cart back on the track, back on the rails, because you give Connor that much power, then he goes absolutely ballistic and does the shit that he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's held the division up for more than 2 years. He got a fight that basically in that class, hey, you know what? Call it warranted, call it not, whatever. I don't know if we're even having any of this conversation about Connor had RDA not gotten hurt for that fight.
I agree.
And then naturally, Nate being who Nate was, with the Diaz brothers having the cult-like following, well, then that blew up that saga. But I think the Conor McGregor hype train could have very easily been silenced had RDA not had that injury.
I agree. Or had any of the guys who fought him not gotten sucked into his game.
Chad Mendes took him down pretty easily.
Chad Mendes did well.
Takedown game or ground game is nowhere near what Khabib's is.
Yeah, and he took that fight on short notice. Very short notice. Was that like a week or something, or 3 days? Or something?
It was very, very short notice.
It was very short notice. But whatever. But what was Eddie Alvarez doing striking with Conor McGregor? And I know Eddie's a tough dude, and probably a lot of ego played into that. But what the fuck are you doing? You're a great wrestler. Use your skills. You're standing at range with the guy with the best left hand in the UFC. That's what Conor McGregor has. A fantastic left hand.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, what are you doing? What are you thinking? It's just foolish.
No, I agree. His left hand is world class.
Absolutely.
Outside of that, he's not that good. Yes, is he a good fighter overall? Yeah, I'll say that much.
Yeah,
but is he GOAT level?
No.
The way that people are talking?
Not even
Not
close.
a fucking chance to me. That's
No.
blasphemous, in my opinion, to the greats of the history, to your guys like your GSPs, to your BJ Penns, to any of those guys who were your real greats that had a historic impact on the game.
Yeah. I agree.
And even if you want to talk about a guy who's been in the news for being kind of, maybe not necessarily a one-trick pony, but for basically being known for having one true weapon in Chuck Liddell. Chuck had the big right hand. You knew that was going to be his weapon, and you still got fucked up by it until the latter stages of his career. But I still think that in an overall sense, not the greatest overall long term,
Not the greatest overall, but I will say his passion for MMA is greater than Conor's.
Oh yeah.
He defended a lot of shots. He fought Randy Couture 3 times.
Very
you know
true.
what I'm saying? Randy Couture is one of the greatest MMA wrestlers ever.
See, and I loved Randy though, so Randy was always my guy in that battle.
I love them both. That was always tricky for me, but Chuck was so hyped back then. I was young. I was just into the big knockout guy for sure, but I love them both. But yeah, Chuck's defensive wrestling was one of the most respectable parts of his game to me. That dude's hard to take down, and he's even harder to hold down. He's a true MMA athlete.
Very true. Now that you say that, I'm kind of starting to revisit some of the, the fights of him blocking a lot of those shots from
Tito Ortiz.
From Tito, exactly.
Come on.
Tito to some of the other many within that mix, and then just being able to shuck them off with the sprawl, come in with that big fucking right hand, just wailing over the top.
Yeah, and he threw a lot of nasty head kicks. Chuck was a great fighter, man. He a little bit of his brain got tarnished by getting knocked out those last couple fights, but when you fight like Chuck does, that's usually how it ends. You get a little chinny towards the end there, and it's usually you don't get out of your own accord. You get out because you're like, oh shit, time is over now. So Unfortunately for Chuck, he got out a little late, but in my mind, he's still up there in one of the greatest of all time, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I can't agree with you more on that. He's certainly one of the pioneers that made the sport what it is today. If there's no Chuck
Undoubtedly.
Liddell without with just the look, the eyes, with the handlebar mustache, the mohawk, the tattoo on the side of the head, just the entire Iceman persona. It's not what it is today without Chuck Liddell. That's certainly for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that he might have taken one too many hits to the head if he thinks that at 205 that he can still bang with John Jones for one, or that I even think put Chuck in his prime. All due respect to his greatness, John Jones would fuck him up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the game has just evolved. It
Right.
just continues to evolve. So, like a lot of the guys I used to look up to in MMA, like I go watch those fights a lot of the times on Fight Pass, and I'm like, these guys are fucking garbage. They're like amateur level now, But they were the only ones doing it back then, and they had all the skills that everyone knew. It's changed. It's grown, and sorry, old fogies, but you got left in the dust. So, Chuck Liddell, do not fight John Jones. Please don't do that.
Chuck, we're all begging you for your own health. Please, please do not oblige John Jones's offer to fly you down to Albuquerque to take any of that action.
That'd be a mistake.
I think it's a mistake, honestly, if he were to take the action with Tito. If this officially goes, just simply from the fact that Tito is still in really good shape. And he still is routinely training and working with world-class athletes, with your cyborgs and everything. Granted, she's a woman, but still, nonetheless, that's a very elite athlete that he's working with routinely.
Definitely.
And he's in very good physical shape himself overall still. I've never been a big Tito guy, but I respect the shit out of his ability. And anybody who stays consistent with anything, I feel like you have to respect what they bring to the table.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, if you keep training, you get to evolve with the sport. So I'm sure Tito has seen a lot of that evolution. I'm not, I have no idea what Chuck's doing in his off time, but I'm sure it's not a whole lot of training.
No, I don't think anywhere to that level at least.
Yeah.
And not to say that I know shit about shit in terms of their training routines or what they're doing on that side of things, aside from just seeing what they share to the world through social media and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't think that that's going to be a good outcome for Chuck.
No, I'd like to see him just stay where he's at, retired.
You know what's crazy though, man, is I believe he's 48, Tito's 43, so there's a 5-year gap between them in general right there. But Randy won the fucking world championship at 46. Randy Couture.
That's insane.
Yeah, he won it at 46 years old. And, Chuck's been out of the game for years now. And it's just 2 years past where Randy was a world champion.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. A 48-year-old world champion, a 46-year-old world champion. That's impressive. Definitely.
Speaking of another guy that just kind of, to put the cap on things for his career this last weekend, Vitor has been a guy who I've always loved watching for years and years, and unfortunately, Vitor's curtain call didn't come in favorable fashion for him this last weekend. But what do you think about Vitor? Now that he's done, what's your thoughts there as he's came to a close?
I mean, he's a pioneer, very tough dude, well liked in the sport. Huge fan base. I have a ton of respect for anyone who came before me, absolutely. And, again, it's just those warriors, they go out on their shield, man. It's tough to see, but you can't let that last loss, tarnish the memory of anybody, Like I said, it's not about winning or losing. It's about his legacy. It's about who he is, and what he's done. And he's done a lot for this sport. And, he's just an awesome dude who's put his life into this, and he deserves our respect for that.
Shout out to Vitor. Vitor, like I say, he's been there's the many faces of Vitor through the years. You know, you could look at Vitor through the different time frames, and it looks like a completely different person. You know, it was almost kind of sad seeing him, you know, at the weigh-ins and out there these last couple of fights, especially, you know, now that he's much lower in terms of weight since the last. He just looks, his body looks deflated. You know, he looks like a fucking Tom Brady football.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, compared to when you're used to in relation, you know, we've talked about Randy a couple of times. I have, what was it, like UFC 12, 13, somewhere in that early range, where he was 19 fighting Randy Couture, and he's fucking 240 pounds with a neck that starts above his ears and just goes all the way out to his shoulders. Like, you know, that was full-on Gorilla Vitor. Then there was TRT Vitor. And then there was USADA Vitor.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with, you know, messing with all those substances and stuff like that. I mean, your body's not made to last like that. You can't last. And then, you know, when USADA comes in and starts drug testing, you got to start cutting that stuff, and then you look like a deflated version of yourself, you know. So people were used to that perfect specimen of Vitor. I remember the first time I saw him fight, I was like, this is a human? Like, that's what humans look like? But, like, not actually. Like, that's what a enhanced human looks like.
You know, at a certain point, I'm pretty sure that everything that they had created in a lab, Vitor had a mix of, you know.
Yeah.
He had a lot of that Mark Coleman and Brock Lesnar plan on, you know, in his mix. Especially when he came out there with the mohawk with the fucking crosses, like, you know, put on him and shit. Yeah.
I mean, there seems to be a lot of that in Brazil, unfortunately. To me, it's a little bit of an indication of, like, a mental weakness. You know, you don't think you're enough, you need something else, but, you know, whatever, that's their problem, their issue, you know, whatever. I don't really care. You know, I've beat the shit out of dudes on the sauce before. It's not a problem for me. So, yeah, I don't knock him for it. I don't praise him for it. I just, you know, he's Vitor, and he's got my respect.
It's hard to knock him for it when it was a rampant thing across the board.
Absolutely.
You know, within the sport, it wasn't something that was outlawed, and then, you know, in certain promotions, it was highly encouraged.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard for me to, when looking at the history of the sport, when some guys say, you know, like the especially the bigger guys, you know, the old pride middleweights to the heavies and all of that. It's hard to knock them on that side of things, just because it wasn't something that was illegal or outlawed.
Yeah.
Just the same way that, you know, yeah, people can say whatever for performance enhancers in baseball or whatever the other, but if it wasn't something that was clearly defined, how can you really, put that? You can't. So, doing all right for you on time?
Yeah, you know, practice is 20 minutes in. I should probably get out there.
Well, so we're going to be coming to a close here. Make sure that Jordan can get out there for practice and get himself in the mix. Sorry for keeping you over and running past on time.
Oh, it's all right, man. You know, I understand, but I'll still get some good work in. No problem.
Yeah, well, so we are the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. Just like to say thank you very much to Jordan for taking time today to be in the mix and involved with the show. So thank you for everything that you've brought to the mix for us, man. I hope that we can bring as much value for you.
Oh, you already have, man. I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I look forward to working with you more in the future. Absolutely. Thanks again. Comments from the Peanut Gallery, y'all. Give it a listen.
Thank you very much for everybody out there listening. Make sure that you keep in mind that Jordan does have that fight on June 22nd for LFA. Follow him online at Jordan Titoni to make sure that you keep up to date with all of the status and the progress on that side of things. Have a great rest of your day, folks.
Tall. The poor boy sits at home just waiting for her call. And the clock strikes midnight. phone rings, and on the other line he hears a sweet voice sing. And when you go, the world moves so slow. And when you go, I feel so alone. And when you go, the world moves so slow. But when you go, I feel so alone. And the sky gets darker, and the rain it pours down. His headlights blazing as he heads towards her town. And the street lights faded, and the air was so cold. Her house up on the hill was now a pile of stone. And he hears no voices as he walks all around. The house where she once lived that had fallen to the ground. And he finds a letter, and he reads it aloud. He can only think of her as he crumbles to the ground. And when you go, the world moves so slow. When you go, I feel so alone. And when you go,